Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like and comment on my video and consider subscribing to my channel. Now on my channel there is a second list of content that has started to show up, and that is Destiny 2 videos. Now the Destiny 2 videos will be rolling out as constant as I possibly can make them roll out for at the moment. And as they roll out, you're going to get more analysis type videos and weapon talk videos as well. Now, as you know, I'm currently out of the meta of the game, so those are going to take some time to do, and it is going to affect my EF videos slightly. There might just be one a day for the next week, and I won't be able to keep up with the two or three. Now, that's because I'm covering the second game and I have already started it, so this is just the unfortunate circumstance of that situation. So for today's build is going to be the T9 Cyclone Taker. Now I'm going to call it the T9 Cyclone Taker because this ship is basically going to be outfitted to run into T9 encounters. So how am I going to up the defense, the overall power, everything on these ships? Now, number one, the biggest problem with T9s is they are very heavy in hitting. So you're going to have to increase your defense. The other problem is it also has massive amounts of disruptive technology at the T9 level that is affecting you when you play in it. So you need to be able to counter that effect. Now, depending on which space you're in, there are slight differences to the build that you're going to have to do. If you're in a space where there's more laser weapons, you're going to understand why there's a reactive and adaptive. And when you're in a space where there's purely missiles, you're going to understand why you're going to go double reactive shield or reactive and damage control unit. It's all dependent on what you're going up against. So let's get started with this build. Now, I'm not going to worry about the power grid output. It is definitely going to be within control. Your engineering should be now reaching 5, and your second level of engineering should start going up to maybe about 5.3, 5.4. And once you have 5.5, you have perfect engineering, you can handle a lot more equipment. And remember, at this point, T8 ships are about to launch. So the Drake, the Harbinger, not the prototype, the Hurricane itself is also going to come out. So those ships are about to come out, along with some of the some of the other ships within the class for battle cruisers. So I will do videos on them as I start to figure out what to do on them. It takes me some time to actually do it. With the amount of editing I'm doing at the moment, it is taking me a bit of a while. So let's get into this. So first off, the slot on this ship where you're going to put in your drone, you're going to put in a Vespa or a Hammerhead. Now the reason for that is you want that general type of damage. Running Infiltrator will help you a bit for the shield, but it won't help you much on the inside. And as I said, Hammerheads are one of the most used. Hammerheads are one of the most used because of the fact that they do kinetic damage. They're also a mid-tier drone. So they're in between the two damages, so they do an equal amount of damage basically throughout the entire combat. So let's talk about what we're going to equip in our weapon slots. Now this is a missile build, so obviously it's going to be your missiles. You're going to attach medium missile launchers. Remember, the reason for this is you want to fight battle cruisers and you don't want to get pinned down by frigates in the fight right off the back. Now, something else to note. Micro warp drives aren't very viable because they are using warp scramblers, and warp scramblers do affect your micro warp drives. I do make some stumbles in my videos from time to time. That's because I only use a keyword system at the moment. I found it's easier than using scripts because scripts take me way too many tries to get them correct. So let's go into this build. So 6 medium missile launches will be what you're going to run for this vessel. Now, medium missile launches means that your fighting time is going to be slightly dragged out. You're going to need more defense on the ship than anything else. Now, considering that T8 is just open, there is also the availability of making T8 rigs. Now, if you have somebody in your corp, in your alliance, who is T8, you may be able to ask them to craft for you T8 rigs, and when you get your T8 rigs, you simply equip them onto your ship to increase the benefit from the defenses, the power grid, all such systems. And that is through the obvious upgrading of the rigs. So rig 3 has now become available. T8 is open. The first round of T8 started yesterday. I was a little bit behind on saying 3 or 4 days. And that is where it is. So let's get into the next part, the mid slot. Now, as I said previously, your mid slot has to change around depending on what you're fighting. So first of all, on your mid slot, what you want to do is delay the amount of time it takes enemies to hit you, or you want to reduce the amount of damage you take. So you're going to put on a disruptor. Now, all of the new equipment slots do have penalties when they are stacked. So the first one you're going to put is a disruptor. The second one is a target painter. Now, depending on your research in missiles, if you are 5-5 and going towards expert, you won't use a second target painter, you'll use a disruptor. Or if you want to go more standard without taking any penalties, you can put a Weber fire. Now, the reason for the Weber fire is simply if something gets too close, you can use the Weber fire to negate way more than just the disruptor can negate. So they will reduce in speed, they will take more damage, and it will also reduce the effects that they are capable of doing on you in terms of actual damage. So those are the three slots that you can put in there. You can double up your disruptor to reduce damage. You can double up your target painter to increase the damage that you're doing to enemies. But remember, the disruptors only reduce a small amount of damage from the laser weapons if you are facing laser weapons. If you are facing missile weapons, use the guidance computers. I am not sure why I am affected by the tracking disruptors. It might be a glitch that's going on with me because of the recording software and the phone not matching up. It might be the reason why I keep getting reduced damage figures. I do less than 300 sometimes against an enemy when I'm disrupted, and that's with my missiles on an enemy who I'd normally do about 2700 on. And those things have been happening to me quite often. I don't know what's going on exactly. It might be because my Vesper is being affected by the tracking disruptor. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to see through the gameplay as I keep going and figure out where things are going wrong. Now, moving on to your low slot. Your low slot is a very important part of your defensive build. Now, here is where things get a bit complicated. A shield extender always helps you to buy the little bit of extra time to regen some shield, because regenerating your shield, the higher the percentage is, the better the recovery seems to be for the player. And depending on what your rigs are, you can recover even more, or you can have an even bigger extender depending on what you're putting on your ship. And they reduce the penalty of how much of power is removed from your ship if you're using the right rigs. So that is one of the things you can do. Now let me start actually going through the equipment, because I know that everybody likes seeing the equipment. So let's see the medium missile launchers that you could use. Now, a lot of C-type gear has dropped in price drastically over the past few days, and some C-type gear has skyrocketed in price. So let's open the medium range. Let's go down. So here we go, medium C-type missile. So I'm just going to open the market, show you what the value is. Something else to note, reprocessing isn't constant anymore. Figures have changed. I don't know why they are changing the way they are changing. You're just going to have to keep your eye out and look at what's going on and figure out which way you are going to change your weapons. So there's the medium missiles. That is your best option for fighting in this type of combat. Now, the third option on fighting in that type of combat is actually to equip torpedoes. But the catch with torpedoes is it's close range, it's high risk, and you're going to get webified, disrupted, and scrambled. So you can't use things such as micro warp drive at all. It's going to be useless for you. You can't really count on your damage staying constant against all opponents, because you're going with the fast, heavy hits, and you have to be very, very tanky in order to survive at that close range. So that was one of the options. Let's see what's the price on the medium torpedo launchers. The prices that show on the list aren't anywhere near the reality. So let's have a look here quickly. About 15 million a piece. I could even purchase some of these and take a try at it. So let's go down into the electronic warfare, because everything that you need is in electronic warfare. Stasis Weber fire, you can always run a Predator. The reason for it is the range. That's the reason why you'd run it. Warp disruptors are useless against PvE enemies. Warp scramblers, on the other hand, do have a function against them because of their ability to knock out micro warp drives. So yeah, you could run a Predator warp scrambler. Moving on, sensor dampeners will only help you for the start of a fight. giving you that little bit of time to actually hit other opponents. So other than that, they have no usage. Against laser weapons, the virus tracking computer, I'm not sure if it's available as yet. Tracking disruptor, sorry. It is available. You can see the price. This year will do fantastic disruption towards lasers. And let's see how much it's going to reduce everything by. 23%. So with the reduced amount of hits and the fall off of about 23%, along with all of these massive effects taking hold on on laser weapons and anything which falls in a similar class, this will give you a lot of a bonus against them because they won't do as much damage as normal. You have to choose the opponent that's doing the most damage to you with the disruptor. That is the only catch when you're running disruptors. Target painters, you can use the Heli target painter. A 31% signal radius amplifier will help you against small ships. That is the only thing that they are good for, taking out the smaller vessels, and it helps you circumvent some of the reduction in their signal radius. You can hit these small ships a lot harder. Guidance computers for missiles, as you can see here at the bottom, it isn't as big of a reduction as the disruptors, but it does help you a lot against missile based opponents. Now let's get into the low slot with the actual discussion. Now you could go shield booster straight off the back and go straight to medium. Shield boosters, they have taken a massive plummet in price recently. They are under the 20 million mark at the moment, so you could actually equip one of these to give you that boost in power. Now, the booster power isn't going to be the best. I'm just going to go down to the large. These have become very, very expensive at the moment, and as you can see, it eats a massive amount of your power grid. At 502 megawatts, it's going to eat on how much of weapon space you have and how much you can run in your mid slot. It also make sure that you only have the ability to run this here over something like a shield extender, which buys you small amounts of time in combat. This here also buys you a lot of time, but it has a massive drain on its activation cost, which is going to hurt your ship quite badly. Now below that is the shield extenders. Obviously I'm not going to go to a large, it'll be way too heavy on your ship. There you go, this is exactly what you want. The 2358 can be increased with your rigs. The large is too big for the ship, you wouldn't be able to run anything else with it. Shield hardness, this is where the catch comes in. If you are facing laser based opponents, I don't remember there being a C type before. The C type reactive hardener will be the best the reactive hardener will be the best for you to use, and I'm a little bit confused. I thought that it used to only go to a faction. And the C-type adaptive invulnerability field will be the combination. So those two will be on your rigging. Now, the one thing that you are negating from this here is the ability to put something like an Acolyte battery on. And as you can see, the price has started to increase again once more on the hardness to about 110 million. So that's where you're going to be putting your basis of your power in. It is going to help you a lot when it comes to the overall power of your ship. Now, with these added in, it means you can take more damage over time, and these systems don't really eat too much of power, so you can keep them active all the time. Now, if you weren't going to go the double reactive armor, you could always go with the C-type battery. The battery, and the battery will increase your capacitor and give you enough time to deploy heavy systems. Sorry about that. Now, those were the first three that you're going to put on. Now, for a lot of you, speed is something that you have to consider, and for others, speed isn't something that you consider. So, if you are running these activities regularly and you want to know whether to put on an afterburner or not, I am going to suggest no afterburner on your ship. Run the C-type and run the double reactive, and there you go with your basic build. Now, where does this come up with a cost? Well, the 4 shield modules with the battery gives you a very balanced amount of tank that you can have. You don't have any ability to run when it comes to speed. So you can't speed tank, you can't get away from enemies. That is the big catch. Now, if you want to change it up a little bit more and switch around your gear, you could have went with the 3 standard shielding modules with the Acolyte battery and an afterburner. Afterburners aren't affected by warp scramblers as far as I know, so you could escape from the combat. So those are the rigs, those are the equipment that you could put on the slot. Now there is slight differences in things that you could do. You could also leave the Acolyte battery and damage controller. Wait, where is this here at the bottom? Damage controllers basically make you invulnerable to damage for several seconds. You'd use the all round. Let's see what's the price on this at the moment. Yeah, you'd use the all round. It can buy you some time while you regenerate your shield. And as you can see, it's a very low cost system to run, and it does have a big reactivation timer wait, 150 seconds. So you can run this in conjunction with your shield extender, giving you a nice boost in that defense for a few seconds. You build. This here deactivates, your shield extender drops, and you're now back up to 60%, and you're safe when it comes to moving on to the next phase of battle. The capacitor battery, I didn't show it. If I'm correct, this has gone up in price because it's become very important in the battle. Yeah, it's still the same price. Never mind. Afterburners was also something I suggested, so just let's look at that. Afterburners have gone up quite a bit in price with the new meta. Let's see what's this price on the market. It's not that bad. Price isn't too heavy. Now, combat rigs are going to go defensive. As I'm saying, this is for the best defense. Remember, if you are running shield, you're always going to go with shield. So core defense is not what we're looking for. You could go with core defense. A 20% deduction in time will help you big time. But this is what I would go for, the core defense charge. 30% extra to that bonus when you boost up your shield. That gives you that little bit more of shield. It can save you a lot of damage. Going below it is the capacitor. 20% reduction in your capacitor need means you can leave your systems active for a little bit longer when it comes to your shielding rigs. And last but not least, defense field. This improves the shield extender. And there you go, 30% extra. This is going to give you a massive amount of extra shield, give you the time to build up your shield when you activate it. Remember, it can only be activated for 20 seconds and once every minute after that. So you have to wait 80 seconds between each activation, and this can buy you a lot of time in combat, especially in those anomalies. You still have to worry about enemies running cap trainers because they really hit you hard. Now, in terms of engineering, it's going to be the standard. That is your navigation rig for some speed. You want the speed all the time because it helps you with that little bit of a negation of damage. But since these are rig 3s, the accelerators should be a bit expensive. Let's see if anybody has put it on the market. There you go, 170 million. That will definitely help you big time. In engineering, there's only 2 things to look at. Let me just double check that I have the right ones. Yeah, there's the first one, and here's the second one. With those 2 put together, as I said, I don't really mix the double capacitor battery or any one of them together because the negative effect might pile up in another change in the game. You want to avoid that happening because those are regular changes that you should expect. Now, if you double your conductor memory, you generally have more capacitor. At this point, it's just 17.5% recharge time adjustment. It does make quite a difference in that 5-minute recharge regular time. So you will get a larger capacitor on your ship at that time, and it will increase the amount of power you gain. It is a massive increase to you. It will give you an advantage against being neutralized and so forth. So you just have to destroy those ships and you can recover in that fight. That's why you want these rigs. And altogether, the rigging of your ship right now should cost you around 1.5 billion. And that's what the rigging is looking like because these level 3s are currently only 170 million and 200 million is the other 2. So that's about 600 million on those 3 rigs. The defensive rigs are very cheap. You should be expecting around 20 million a piece, But the reason why I'm saying expect it to be 1.5 billion, these prices aren't final, they're just the start. The demand on them is going to skyrocket with the addition of the battleships in approximately 4 days. So battleships will be arriving in 4 days. Expect to see them in combat and expect them to be very tanky and run the optimal gear possible. They're going to run target painters to get you if you are going to try to run the small ship evasion tactics against them. Another warning on the big ships is they have massive ranges. So these things are going to be used for you in PvE. Make sure that you are using this type of a format in PvE. It will give you the chance to farm those larger anomalies like you used to. It might give you that little bit of leeway to make it almost AFK. So thank you all for watching. Have a good day.